from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to the Thursday night edition of the program. We're live, we're national. It is debate night, and the CNN debate is still on. I was just watching it. I'm still watching it. It's on mute. I'm reading the subtitles, and I've got to tell you, there's a lot going on there. If you want to join us tonight, we're going to be talking about this all night long with lots of perspective from many different guests. 833-482-5337 is the phone number, 833-4-VALDEZ. And I got to tell you, of course, I'm biased, and I want to see America do well. I'm very biased for my country. And there's one man on this stage right now that is truly disciplined, that is truly holding his own, that seems competent, that seems healthy, and that's Donald Trump and all this Magna El Trompito. Donald J. Trump, the 45th president of these United States. Joe Biden came out, and he was talking a mile a minute. I don't know what kind of espresso he was drinking backstage, but he was just talking, barely blinked. It was really, really odd. He seems to be a little bit more subdued now, but he's outrageous claims. Like I predicted thus far, this thing ends in less than a half hour, and I think he's got the two big lines that he wanted for his team to put out there, and that was calling Trump a convicted felon. Of the two people on this stage, there's only one of us that's a convicted felon. He used that one. And then the other one was, you know, out of 44 members of your cabinet, 40 of them aren't even going to endorse you. And why is that? Your own vice president won't endorse you. Well, I think anybody who's following politics and has a pulse understands why. But for the average Joe that is working, that isn't paying attention to politics, that maybe doesn't listen to our show every day or even just, read their newspaper if people still do that, they hear that and they think, man, nobody likes Trump. Now, I don't know how much weight that carries. I don't think it carries much. But Trump is on top of his game. He knows the numbers. And not just because I like the guy, but because really Biden is embarrassing. Not just embarrassing for himself, for his campaign, for his own presidency, but really for America. I think it's just he's not on it. He's taking pot shots at Trump. The other one was, you called them suckers and losers. I don't think anybody believed that when it actually was said. I don't think anybody believes it now. I don't think anybody believes it. I really don't. But some of the stuff that they're talking about, we're going to get you some audio from that debate shortly. It's just embargoed by CNN for another 20 minutes or so. And by the way, in just a few minutes, one of Trump's advisors, his pollster, John McLaughlin, is going to be joining us, interrupting his own debate watching at his own debate watch party to join us and give us some of his rapid reaction, immediate gut check to what he's seeing going on in this debate. And I got to tell you, I'm seeing a side of Trump that is more demure, that is more disciplined. I'm going to dare say what the left would say. I think it's more presidential, if that's a thing. I think Trump really brought his A game to this debate. And he always does, quite frankly. But I think he's giving the advisors that are coaching him what they're asking for. They're saying, hey, just don't go too hard. And that's what he's doing. He's just giving them the facts. He's telling it like it is. He's defending his record, correcting the record. And Joe Biden's making lots of funny faces, lots of stuttering, lots of stammering. He really seems lots of deer in the headlight looks. If you're looking at it right now, I mean, he looks just shocked, like, who are you? What's your name again? Really, really bad shape. Looks like whatever coffee Joe Biden drank is starting to wear off. But I'll tell you, somebody get me the name of Joe Biden's Botox injector. This guy's got no wrinkles. He's about 100 years old. He doesn't have a wrinkle on his face. I mean, only when he makes that smirky smile that he makes all the time. It's kind of like a nervous reaction. He just smiles to get out of trouble. Good thing he doesn't have his aviator shades. Dana Bash and Jake Tapper, I can say for the most part, have been behaved. Jake Tapper did jump in when Biden seemed to be struggling earlier. But I'll chalk that up as he's the moderator. If I'm on a radio show and somebody's falling apart, I jump into. I don't just sit there and let the dead air happen. Right? I'm jumping in. Not because I like them or I want to help them or anything like that, just because we're broadcasters here and we have to put on a good show. Right? That's what we do. I'm not here to let people just and just let them die. You know, I'm not going to do that. You know, I'm going to throw you a bone. So I think that's what Jake Tapper was doing, trying to be fair. And again, I don't think Jake Tapper's fair, but I think that's what he was doing in that situation. But that was the only situation I saw where they tried to really bail out Biden when he froze a little bit, was in that moment thus far. Again, there's still probably about 15, 16, 18 minutes to go in this debate. But that's what I've seen so far. A couple other things. In the debate, Donald Trump has mentioned lots of things. He's talked about policies that he's implemented and that he would still implement. He talked about directly how he did not call for his supporters to bum rush the Capitol, that he asked for them to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. He also, like he always does, he mentioned how his heart went out for these young women that are killed by these illegal aliens. Something Joe Biden, the president, sitting president, has not mentioned. He doesn't seem to care to say something to the families or to acknowledge this in a contrite manner. He just doesn't seem to care. Now, of course, they have been taking turns calling each other this guy, and that's funny. I think that's funny. You know, the contempt that they have for each other is palpable and definitely noted. Got it. But again, the 1-2 punch that Joe Biden's been practicing for all week was that. Calling Trump a convicted felon. Again, I will give you my play-by-play on that. He's the only one of us on this stage that's a convicted felon is you. And I think he thought that was going to get him more oomph. I don't think it really did. And the other one, which was better, he delivered it better, was the attack line on Vice President Pence not endorsing Trump. But outside of that, I don't think Biden's done anything but smile and say, that's not true, that's a lie. That's not true, we've done more. Every time, even when Dana Bash and Jake Tapper have said, hey, look, you know, what do you tell black Americans that say you're not doing enough? Because, you know, these are the numbers. And he says, well, no, we've done plenty, but I tell them it's okay that they're disappointed. I don't blame them, and blah, blah, blah. You know, he's doing his best to be a politician. I just don't, you know, I think when you're the champ, right, if it's a boxing match, you've got to get beaten, right? That's just how it is. When you're the sitting president, you don't just, you get a pass. You don't get a pass. People want you to win this thing. You have to earn it. And I don't feel like Joe Biden is earning anything right now. And I think the American people do expect him to deliver. I think they do think, sir, you are the commander-in-chief. Sir, you are the president. And, sir, you're not doing anything. Anyway, we're going to take a quick pause momentarily, and hopefully we will have tracked down our guest who's going to be joining us momentarily to give us some of the play-by-play before the debate ends. If you want to join us by phone, we'll be taking calls all night. Your thoughts and more in reaction to the debate, plus all of the other news of the day. Again, our phone number, 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
I want to listen to you, Rich, all the time.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
CNN is, of course, committed, as always, to putting facts first.
Facts first, Jim.
Facts first, exactly.
Trump might have committed treason.
Significant evidence of collusion.
There is tons of proof of potential collusion.
It's our job as citizens as well as journalists to point out that facts matter.
The U.S. president possibly working for the Russians.
Reasonable to ask if he could be working on behalf of Russian interests and not the U.S.'s?
Well, it's a reasonable question.
That is a couple of clips from over the years of CNN being so committed to the facts Yet we know where they landed on all that stuff. But yet tonight in the debate, I haven't heard any fact checking going on from Dana Bash or Fake Tapper, right? For example, fact check. Did Biden cut the deficit? Of course not. He's added to it. But those are some of the things that he said. Let's see. Another fact check over here. Biden created record jobs. Well, of course, we know he didn't. The jobs that came back were jobs that were created by the Trump administration and were paused because of Dr. Fauci and then came back. A job coming back is obviously not a job created. Let's see another one. Suckers and losers that Trump called vets or active duty soldiers suckers and losers. That was a hoax then. It's a hoax now. This is part of the Biden plan. And, of course, saying that, Trump was reckless with his foreign policy when it's Biden who's brought us to the brink of World War III daily. So I want to tap in to somebody who's a pollster for President Trump. He's been here before. You know him well from television. John McLaughlin. He's the head of McLaughlin Associates, and he's with us now. John McLaughlin, the debate is still going on. I don't know where you're watching it tonight, but what's your initial reaction to everything you've heard so far and what you've seen?
Well, since I work for President Trump, I'm biased, but we had low expectations because of the way they, set the rules, and Biden really dictated the rules. But right now, what I'm watching, if it was a heavyweight fight, the ref would throw in the towel and there'd be a TKO. I mean, it's. I've heard what you said about fact checking, et cetera, from Tapper and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash have been they've been asking the questions and they've been letting both candidates say what they're going to say. And, a lot of what Biden say isn't true. And at times he's just having a hard time getting his thoughts together and saying what he's got to say. But in the meantime, President Trump is in command of the facts, where he's talking about inflation and talking about, because a lot of what President Trump is saying is true, and about immigration. And so he's really, he's really up on his facts and figures. And a lot of what President Biden's saying is just not true. It's like spin. So right now, I think President Trump's going to be, come out of this, very well right now. And I think there's going to be renewed questions about whether the Democrats really want Joe Biden as the nominee. But, they're stuck with him as the nominee. So we'll see.
John McLaughlin, I'm watching this, and I got to tell you, the first seconds of it, of Joe Biden coming out, looking very robotic, looking very stiff, very rigid. He didn't look spry. He didn't look ready to go. Trump came out looking like he was ready for business. The voice, the president's voice, there's days where he yells, where he whispers. He seems really out of it. He's been clearing his throat all day. And I'm not trying to pick on the guy. I'm just thinking, if this is your big day, you better be ready for your big day. He just doesn't look ready for the big day. I'm wondering, I suspected, like most debates, when you're down, you do a debate and you bounce back because people start to hear you and they see you, and it's kind of a renewed confidence that people have in you. But I don't know if that'll be the case. Maybe, maybe not. What are your thoughts?
I've been dealing with a lot of the substance and policy on this, and right now they're talking about physical exams, and President Trump's talking about the medical exams he's go through, and Biden just looks weird. But a lot of times when you listen to the facts and figures, and if you listen to radio, you get a different impression. But just watching this, it's like the texts I'm getting from friends, and acquaintances, Democrats I know, and news media people I know. It's like, and you watch the chatter on the internet among political experts, and I think a lot of the discussion is going to be about how Joe Biden looks and the way he answered questions, rather than the facts and the policy debate that's happening between the two candidates. Because there really is a sharp policy debate. And what's ironic about Joe Biden, he's talking about wiping out the Trump tax cut in several places tonight. So he's running on a massive tax hike that would wipe out, the economy. And, that's a big policy difference. And, we haven't had a Democrat run on a tax hike like that since, Walter Mondale, and that didn't go well for him. So, so right now it's as you watch this, I mean, President Trump's landing blow after blow on issue, and you just, you kind of like, I mean, the rules that CNN set here probably work to our advantage. That there's really not much back and forth. They're saying what they each want to say, and I think President Trump's connecting with a lot of voters about how they feel about crime and immigration and being safe and Social Security, Medicare. That there's a big difference.
Mm-hmm. You know what's interesting, John McLaughlin, I just want to chime in real quick. I find it fascinating that Biden seems extraordinarily disconnected from the American public. Right? Trump comes out here, whether you like the guy or not, the things that are coming out of his mouth, he's talking about what he's done for the people. And Biden just trashes him. And then Trump says, but, your open border is allowing young women to be raped and killed and murdered by illegal aliens and whatnot. And he says nice words, affable words for the family to realize he's a person that cares. And yet you don't hear that from Biden. And I'm thinking, is that a misstep from a skilled politician, or does he just not care? What's your take?
I think it's a misstep. I mean, I think the Bidens are going to regret that they went into this debate, because within the Democrat Party, there was apprehension before the State of the Union. And after the State of the Union, the Democrats propped him up, and he did well. And as far as they were concerned, I thought it was a divisive, nasty speech.
Yeah, very mean.
But tonight, after spending a week at Camp David and being propped up for this, I think he's been exposed that he really reality in terms of what's going on. I mean, Trump's policy after policy, he's calling them out, whether it's national defense, whether it's the war in Ukraine, whether it's the war in Israel, whether it's immigration and closing the border, whether it's Social Security, Medicare, that he's letting millions of illegals on it that will cause it to go broke, national debt. I mean, it's just there's a huge difference between the two men in terms of not just delivery, but in terms of facts and figures and policy. And for President Trump, he's on a mission. I mean, I could tell you that I went with him on the campaign during the primary to some of the rallies, and we went out to Iowa when it was freezing cold, prepare for the Fox Town Hall, et cetera. You have a conversation, and he remembers all his facts and figures, and he grasps it. He knows what the facts and figures are. And the Trump campaign is sending out fact checks constantly right now. And, the American people, we just wrote an article for Newsmax based on a national poll that we completed yesterday, where 68% of all Americans say the country's on the wrong track. They say that the economy is getting worse, not better, 62 to 31. 57% disapprove of Joe Biden. You have over 84% negatively impacted by inflation, 49% having trouble affording basic necessities.
Yep.
And Trump's leading the poll by 2 points. But there's another 10 points undecided for us to go get, plus another 14% that disapprove of Biden that are not voting for us. We may have gotten a good number of them tonight if they watch this. So,
yeah, I think so. I think, John McLaughlin, stand by. We're going to come right back to you for another few minutes before we let you go. And this should be wrapping up in a few minutes. So hopefully we'll get the first in the nation reaction from John McLaughlin to the debate after it's over. Don't go anywhere, folks. Rich Valdez coming right back.
The best guests, the best opinions. This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. We continue our conversation with you, all the American people, 833-482-5337-833-4-Valdez. And, of course, our guest, John McLaughlin, who is on a quick pause from watching the debate. Now, John McLaughlin, where are you watching the debate tonight?
In my office. So that way I could be at the computers. And there's a lot of, although you can't really poll because the debate didn't start till 9 o'clock Eastern time, and it's still going on. They're going long, where they haven't done their closing statements yet. and so they're going long, which is good for us, good for Trump, considering we're winning. But so I'm in here, we're watching what's going on the internet, talking to my colleagues on the campaign, and the feedback is surprising. I mean, I'm getting responses from Democrat friends who are wondering who they're going to support. I mean, they're stuck with Joe Biden. He's the nominee. The delegates are bound to him, and if he doesn't voluntarily step aside, they got a nominee that Donald Trump has just won the first debate, and probably the polls won't move all that much, but we'll keep our lead, and we may pick up a little, and because there is a Democrat base that year, that's kind of locked in. But we've already picked up 4 or 5% of Biden 2020 voters that are now voting for Trump. And there's another 10% that are undecided. And there's another 14% of the electorate disapproves the job that Biden's done. And if they think Trump is a better president, we'll pick up that. And he said he was going to be the best president. I mean, what's amazing is everything he's gone through and he just said in the debate that he really didn't want to run, but he saw what Joe Biden was doing in the country. And for the past 3 years, I've had a front row seat to that, where you watch President Trump, he loves this country. And I met with him when he was being impeached in February of 21. We had a meeting and we were watching that. And I told him, I said, you realize 2/3 of the Republicans want you to run. And then in 22, we came up with a plan that, we were going to get primaried, and the strategy was, I told him, I said, you got to get up every day and attack Joe Biden because his policies are failing. He surrendered Afghanistan. He triggered inflation to wreck the economy. Crime is up. The border's out of control. And Trump, I don't think, wanted to run, but he kind of got determined to run. And then last year, I told him, I said, the only crime you've committed is you're ahead in the polls. And Biden is so corrupt, he was indicting him. And then he had to endure the degradation. Here's a former president of the United States being booked, in mugshots by people who are basically doing Joe Biden's dirty work. I mean, there's Biden ties to all these trials, whether it's Fannie Willis visiting in the White House. Alvin Bragg wasn't going to bring the case until Matt Colangelo left the Justice Department. Judge Murtaugh, his daughter's making tens of millions of dollars. Judge Murtaugh's daughter is her largest, most important client is Joe Biden, and she's one of the best Democrat internet fundraisers in the country. And the New York Post said she raised $93 million as of March. She gets 15-20% of that for her firm. And there's the ones who are indicting Trump, rigging these trials, and he's endured all this. And he's doing it because he loves the country. At one point I told him this year, I said, you're going to end up being the Nelson Mandela of America. And, he just wants things to go back to peace and prosperity. He'd like to end the wars in Ukraine. He'd like to have Iran and, the terrorists in the Middle East leave Israel alone and you leave America alone. And, he'll do what he has to do, and he'll make sure the economy is strong and Americans are working, and he'll secure our borders again. And, we even polled on this week we polled on his idea to not tips, and the American supported 62 to 27%.
I think that's a great idea. One of the best things I've heard in a while that is like outside of the norm of the things that people typically talk about. And I'm sure it polled really well. Speaking of polls, I want to ask you, John McLaughlin, pollster to President Trump, McLaughlin Associates. I'm going to call him a colleague of yours. I don't know if he's your friend or not, but he's in the same business as you. Nate Silver, who's a pollster and does a lot of work. There's an article in the New York Post about him right now saying that he has made a prediction that this is not going to be a toss-up in November. And the data shows that he's got Trump winning by 65.7% chance of victory over President Biden on November 5th. What do you think about that?
Well, I don't know Nate personally, but I followed when he called Barack Obama the winner. But in 2016, he had on election day Hillary with a 70 on election day, November 8th. of 2016, he had Hillary Clinton as a 71% chance of winning. And I got in trouble with Nate because I said, no, I think we're going to win. I said on Hannity Radio that previous week, and I said, I think we're going to win on Election Day, because we had a play of winning an electoral battleground vote. We knew we were close in the popular vote, but we lost it by 3%. But the way the electoral vote is decided among the states, we were able to win states that in the Sun Belt and the Rust Belt that Republicans hadn't won in years. And we won an electoral majority by 78,000 votes out of 139 million.
Wow.
We lost in 2020 by a narrow, even though we lost the popular vote by 4%. And you can go to my website, the polls I'm referring to on McLaughlinOnline.com. We didn't have President Trump winning. We do a monthly poll. We post it. Today we're up 2%. That would be an electoral landslide for us. But in 2020, we lost by 44,000 votes in 3 states, basically Arizona, 11,000, Georgia, 11,000, 20,000, Wisconsin. This time around, we're winning in every battleground state. We're winning in Wisconsin. We're tied in Virginia. We're very close in New Jersey, New Mexico. The map's expanding. After this debate, we may put some more states in play. But, but it's a long way to go. It's 131 days to go. Nate Silver's making his predictions, and that's good. But we're just focused we're running like we're behind as far as the Trump campaign. I got a candidate who's on a mission that wants to make America, bring back peace and prosperity for America. His slogan is his brand is making America great again, and I think a lot of voters see his point. So,
I think you're 100% right. John McLaughlin, I want to thank you for taking some time away from the debate. I know that we're just looking at these closing statements, and I really appreciate you taking time to be with us. Let everybody know how they could find you.
Go to our website, McLaughlinOnline.com. So if you go to McLaughlinOnline.com, you'll see the polls I'm talking about. And I might actually be tweeting some things tonight in Truth Social, where it'll be at JMCLGHLN. And we'll see you. We're working on winning the Bronx, so watch out.
I love that.
Rich,
that.
We'll see you in the old neighborhood.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to be at the party. John McLaughlin, thanks, brother. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
All right, God bless. All right, folks, we're coming right back. Your calls and more as we continue our analysis, coverage, and reaction to everything that's going on with this debate. It looks like it's finally just wrapping up. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. Valdez. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, amigos, welcome back. So the debate is over. They've given their final thoughts. And one of my favorite parts was when President Trump was just incredibly honest and transparent and told the American people and Joe Biden right to his face that he thinks he is the worst president ever. Check this out.
Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now, all of a sudden, he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
All right, folks, that is President Trump on the debate stage this evening saying that Joe Biden is the worst president ever. And I have to agree with him, at least the worst that I've seen in my lifetime. But Biden quickly fires back, saying lots of different things, not the least of which was that Trump claimed that the military folks that were serving overseas were suckers and losers. Listen to this.
My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
The 4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history.
So there you have it, Joel Baboso Biden swinging back. And listen, that was one of his finer moments. And I'm trying to give you the best shots that he's taken tonight because he did a lot of stuttering and a lot of stammering. And listen, I stutter and stammer too, right? When you talk a lot, that happens sometimes. I try to be fair. But I got to tell you, if this is your big day, if this is your debate, this is you trying to get your job again, right? If you're trying out for a job, I don't know. I think you got to bring your A game, right? You really got to put a lot into it. And I feel like he didn't. In fact, at one point he said we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Now, I've said some things on the radio where I messed numbers up. You know, it happens. And you correct it later. Thank God for producers that can say, hey, no, it's not that. It's, not 10,000, it's 10 million. Or not 10 million, it's 10,000. But 1,000 trillionaires in America. You ever heard a number like that? Anyway, listen to Joe Biden here, number 35.
Number two, you got $2 trillion tax cut benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America.
We have 1,000 trillionaires. At least he corrected himself. But Joe Biden really, I feel, after a week off in preparation, or at least 4 or 5 days off in preparation for this, and knowing what he knows from debating Trump in the past, I got to tell you, he did not seem prepared. He honestly didn't even really come across as presidential. One thing that you have to learn how to do, and no matter what you do, right? Whether it's being a radio host, being a TV host, being a president of the United States, being a cop, being whatever authority, sway, power, panache, whatever word you want to use, right? Whatever influence that you have in whatever capacity you have in your job, you've got to be able to use it and use it well because people are counting on it, right? This is why people focus on bedside manner. When they go to the doctor, and they're like, they want a doctor that's going to come in there and look sharp with his white jacket and a stethoscope around his neck and say, Mr. So-and-so, Mrs. So-and-so, you're going to be okay. Let me explain what's going on. Here's the prognosis, right? People want people that are in control, that understand, that inspire confidence. Joe Biden is the sitting president of the United States. And you think he was walking around, speaking, puffing up his chest, behaving in any way as if he was leader of the free world? He was not. I'm not looking for humility in the president. I'm really not. Maybe in my pastor, maybe in my priest, maybe in a lot of people, but not in the president. I need a president that's confident, that's secure, and that's able. And I didn't get that from our president tonight. Joe Biden let me down on that front. And Donaldus Magnus, El Trompito, he came through with flying colors like he usually does. Anyway, folks, your calls and more coming up. 833-4-VALDEZ, 833-482-5337.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, felicidades to El Trompito Donaldus Magnus. I want to congratulate President Trump. I believe that he is the clear victor of tonight's debate, head and shoulders above his competition, Joe El Baboso Biden. And speaking of El Baboso Biden, I want you to hear a clip from his closing remarks. Listen to this.
Wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever that meant. Now, looking at the images I'm seeing from our folks in the control room, the CNN Chiron says that sources are saying there's aggressive panic for Democrats after Biden's performance tonight. CNN has quickly updated that to saying Dems are saying we have a problem. Clearly, anybody who watched the entirety of that debate, as I did, and as some of you did, is worried that your team is going to lose. This is not someone that looks like they can win the presidency. This was not even somebody that looked like they were president tonight. Now, I thought the whole job of being off for 5 days at Camp David was so that he could score a victory tonight or even look like president. Neither of those things happened tonight. Oh, I was going to go to George, who was waiting on the line. It looks like we lost George. Let's go to Paul, Boise, Idaho, KBOI. Go right ahead quickly.
Thanks for calling on me.
Yes, sir. Paul, by the way, while you're gathering your thoughts, I just wanted to say I got the gift that you sent in the mail. It finally got to me, and it was incredibly thoughtful, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, they have little holders you can have for them, too. But anyway, yeah, that's cool.
Thank you, sir.
I saw was an opportunity by Trump, and I don't know if he didn't catch it or not, but it was an opportunity to crucify Biden. When he started attacking him about his sexual prowess with a porn star and
I think he took it well though.
In that little segment, I was waiting for him to say, "Well, what about your daughter and her?"
Yeah, I think Trump actually took the high road, Paul, and I think he did the right thing in doing that. I think people who were on the fence said, "You know what? He handled it the right way." Joe Biden definitely tried to call him out the wrong way. It didn't seem presidential. And honestly, of the two men, I think Trump seemed more presidential than him, and Trump's not even the sitting president. So thanks for your call, Paul. Again, thanks for the challenge coin. I appreciate that as well. Godspeed to you. Folks are coming right back with hour number 2 and former presidential candidate, Larry Elder. Don't go anywhere.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late-night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Your liberty-loving Latino amigo. Happy to be here with you this Thursday night. I'm with you live till 1 a.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to join our late-night national town hall conversation, give me a call, 833-4825-337-833, the number 4, and my last name, Valdez. And I want to get into a couple of things. Obviously, tonight is the big night, the big debate that we've all been waiting for. I think for some people, they think it was a lackluster performance by President Biden. I'm going to say felicidades, congratulations to President Trump on a performance that was probably, I think, his best. He was calm, cool, collected. It seemed extraordinarily presidential, very disciplined in his message. I think he did a fantastic job personally. And Biden seemed dazed. He seemed confused, sluggish, slow, just sleepy Joe, as Trump would say. He didn't seem to be all with it. And I don't know, 10, 12 minutes into the debate, he loses his train of thought. He just froze. He had one of those little, beep, 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 where he just kind of goes haywire. And Jake Tapper kind of came in for the save, which I think he did just as a broadcaster to kind of get rid of dead air. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'll accept any criticism on that. But that's what I saw. Biden seemed aggressive. He seemed aloof. He seemed desperate in many ways. Trump seemed like he was on top of his game, even when he was being insulted and berated by Biden. So kudos to him on that one. Now, we're going to continue to discuss things because there's a lot from the back and forth, Trump calling him a Manchurian candidate. Then you've got Biden taking credit for the jobs that Trump created and then came back after COVID. Just lots were going on. So I want to bring in our guest to give me his take on this, because you heard a little bit of my take already. And this is just no ordinary 11 p.m. guest here. This is somebody who ran for president in 2024, ran for governor of California as well, has been a nationally syndicated radio host, an attorney. This guy, what hasn't he done, right? He even owns a bank. Larry Elder, welcome back, sir.
Rich, thank you for having me. I don't quite own the bank. I co-founded it, but thank you.
All right, I'll take it. I'll co-found a bank, too.
Yeah.
So where did you watch the debate tonight?
I watched it at home alone, and I taped the responses of CNN and MSNBC because I wanted to see the reaction of the hosts on CNN because they represent the Democratic Party. They've got Axelrod on there and Van Jones on there, so their response is going to reflect exactly what the Democrats are thinking. They're getting text messages during the debate from their friends and colleagues. And to them and to me, it was an unmitigated disaster for President Joe Biden. He lost his train of thought, as you pointed out. He gave confused, dazed answers, and he looked horrible. He looked old. He had a funny expression from time to time when they cut to him. It was an absolute disaster. Right now, the Democrats are in a full-scale panic, and they're trying to figure out what the hell to do between now and November. They want to get rid of him. They don't know how to do it. Biden is not going anywhere. Dr. Jill loves being first lady. And even if they did, you have somebody named Kamala Harris who has lower numbers than Joe Biden waiting in the wings. You cannot drop kick her because the strongest part of the Democratic base are black females. They love Kamala Harris. And she's drop kicked for some white dude like Gavin Newsom or Mayor Pete. They will be livid. Not so livid, Rich, that they'll vote Republican, but they'll be so livid they won't vote at all, thereby guaranteeing that Donald Trump not only wins, but wins in a landslide. They are in deep, deep voodoo right now.
Yeah, and I want you to take a listen to some of these clips that I've got here, because really it's just such a great display of so much, right? Everybody says Trump is the undisciplined one, and to me, Biden was extraordinarily undisciplined when he was on track. He was really undisciplined. But Trump had a number of really good lines, and one of them was where he called him the Manchurian candidate. Listen to this.
We now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money. It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come, but he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So there he is. He calls him the Manchurian candidate on the take for China, something during the last campaign, before I called him Joe El Baboso Biden, his name was, Beijing Biden. And I think a lot of people didn't like what Joe Biden was doing with China and how soft he was on it. And we've seen that in his administration. What's your reaction to that, Larry Eldorado?
Well, I think that Trump let him off lightly. I mean, he didn't get into the Biden crime family, all the money that Hunter Biden has gotten for doing nothing. Joe Biden is the big guy, although he denied knowing anything at all about his son's business dealings. There's a lot of ammo that Donald Trump, in my opinion, left. But that was a good, strong response. But bottom line is this. Donald Trump slammed him on inflation. He made valid points. Slammed him on the economy. He made valid points. And obviously slammed him on the borders. 8 million people in the country illegally. I would have also added that Joe Biden wanted everybody to be vaccinated, wanted there to be essentially a mandate for vaccines. People coming in the country were not only unvetted, they were also unvaccinated. How do you square that? That did not come up. The other big thing is this, and I wish Donald Trump had done more with this. Joe Biden launched his campaign claiming that the only reason he ran is because of what Donald Trump said about Charlottesville. And he repeated that lie he's been saying for 7 years, which is that Donald Trump said there were very fine white nationalists on both sides. He said nothing of the sort. Even Jake Tapper, 2 years after the fact, said that that wasn't true. Just a few days ago, one of the large left-wing fact-check organizations, Snopes, said that the assertion that Donald Trump was saying there were very fine white nationalists on both sides is rated false. It took him 7 years to say it, but he finally said it. Now, Joe Biden said it again tonight. And again, Jake Tapper was right there. I recall him even saying it wasn't true. He didn't say a word. So the whole reason that Donald Trump, that Joe Biden claims he ran, this lie that Donald Trump said there were good, very fine people on both sides, he repeated it again. He's been repeating it for 7 years. And it's not only a lie, Rich, it's a lie that's racially divisive. What you're saying really is Donald Trump, in a wink and a nod, said to white racists, vote for me, I'm your guy. So it divides the country racially, and Joe Biden said it again. It's disgusting.
Folks, stick with us. We're coming right back with El Dorado, El Durske, Larry Elder, a former 2024 presidential candidate. We're breaking down the debate that we saw tonight, plus anything else that we want to get into tonight. That's what we do here. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Rich Valdez, who, again, will do a fine job, and I know you'll enjoy listening to it.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened, I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
You got to love that. You got to love that. That is a clip from tonight's debate. Folks, welcome back. Rich Valdez, our guest, Larry Elder, former presidential candidate, and he's just an amazing guy, Larry Elder, but he is also the author of the book, As Goes California, My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation. Now, Larry Elder, before we swing it back to you to get your reaction to that clip, I just want to share that Casey Hunt from CNN tweeted, 30 minutes ago, we are effed, and the word starts with an F, ends with a D, has a CK in between. The follow-up to that is Democrats despair over Biden debate performance. It seems clear to me. Trump thinks he did a bad job. Casey Hunt thinks he did a bad job. Biden did a pretty bad job, no?
Well, if Casey Hunt said that, Rich, what does that say? We are F, meaning we, meaning the Democratic Party. I thought you were an objective moderator over at CNN. Remember when she had on Caroline Levitt? And Caroline Levitt was talking about all the horrible things that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash have said about Trump. And she cut her off, essentially ended the interview. And now she's saying we, thereby confirming what we always said, which is that these guys over at CNN are in the tank for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and it's CNN : we are effed. So, collectively, collectively, CNN thinks that they're screwed.
That's right. She just acknowledged that we're the ones going to bat for Joe Biden. We are screwed. And they are. It's a disastrous performance. Again, from people like Van Jones, who also said it was a disaster. Van Jones says, I love the guy. I love Joe Biden. I got to say, it was terrible. It was terrible. Right now, they're trying to figure out what to do. And that what to do thing is going to be very interesting because, as I said, Jill Biden loves the job. I bet you right now she's telling her husband what a great job he did because, after all, he was able to stand up for 90 minutes. He didn't fall. He didn't dribble. He did stand up for 90 minutes. So as far as she's concerned, he probably had done a good job, and his advisors are going to tell him what a wonderful job that he did. So he's not going to go voluntarily. It's going to take a group of very persuasive Democrats, people like Barack Obama, to pull him aside and say, Joe, you got to go. Only then will Joe consider going. But I don't believe they're going to do that because if they do, as I said earlier, there's Kamala Harris who's waiting in the wings. She's on deck. She wants to be president. She ran for the presidency. And if I'm Kamala Harris, my attitude is, look, I ran for DA in the Bay Area. I won. I ran for AG in California. I won. I ran for re-election for AG. I won. I ran for U.S. Senator in California. I won. I ran on the ticket with Joe Biden, and we won. I've never lost an election when I've been on the ticket. When they should think I'm going to lose this one, I'm not going anywhere. That's a huge problem for these guys.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to share another a tweet from Casey Hunt. This one is from 9:48 Eastern Time, so about 2 hours ago. The Voice, open-mouthed look and visual contrast between President Biden and former President Trump all have Democrats I'm talking to nearly beside themselves watching this debate. That's Casey Hunt on Twitter.
That's right.
I've never seen this type of reaction from the left.
You know, the debate, the first televised debate was between John Kennedy and Richard Nixon. And if you heard the debate on radio, the majority of people who heard it thought Nixon won. But if you saw it, because Nixon was sweating and Kennedy was handsome and poised and polished, people who watched it on television thought he won. This debate was pretty much lost by Biden when he walked out very slowly, a slow gait. Within 2 or 3 minutes, he started fumbling and stumbling. And the contrast is stark. Donald Trump has lost weight. He looks vigorous. Joe Biden looked lost, and he looked, dare I say, extremely, extremely old.
Yeah, he did. Not only old, he looked lost and feeble and like he shouldn't have been there. It's a shame. Now, Larry Elder, what's going on with you lately? I know that you're co-founding banks and doing all sorts of things. You've got TV shows. I see all over the place. What is going on with Larry Elder?
Well, right now I'm doing a weekly podcast. It's a 1-hour podcast. You can see it at the top of my Twitter file. It's getting about 350,000 views each time we do it, so a little more than a million every month for the 4 ones that we've done. I'm also doing a lot of fill-ins. I sat in for Dennis Prager today. I'm sitting in for him tomorrow and a couple of days next week. As you pointed out, I'm a co-founder of a bank. I'm on the board of a bank, giving a lot of speeches. And I don't have any plans for politics again. I think I've given at the office. I ran for governor. I ran for president. They didn't allow me on the first debate for reasons that I won't go into. So that's enough for elective politics. But I'm still in the game. I still write my weekly column, and so I'm still around. I'm still hitting the fastball.
I love it. Well, the podcast looks terrific. It's great. It's great to see you on TV. You know, I listened to you on radio for many years after Mark Levin. On my way home from the studio, I would catch Larry Elder on 9:70 a.m. The Answer in New York. And always a treat. Always enjoyed the show. Now, before we wrap, you've got the podcast. You're not getting into politics. Do we expect you to open more banks?
I'll tell you what else I'm doing I didn't mention. There's a online cartoon that we're trying to get out on a series. It's called The New Norm. And Dave Rubin is one of the characters. I'm one of the voices. Elon Musk made a cameo appearance. You can go to Twitter and look up The New Norm. And we just put out a 3-minute clip 2 days ago. And guess how many views so far?
I don't know. I'm bad at that.
20 million. 20 million.
Wow.
And on the website Mediate, which is a left-wing website that trashes conservatives, it called it cringe-worthy. Said it was the worst thing they've ever seen. But 20 million views.
20 million cringe-worthy views.
That's a lot of cringe.
That's terrific. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think? I know you don't believe that they're going to swap out Joe Biden because it would be a slight to Kamala Harris, and that would decimate the base to the point that it would hand Trump a victory. And I think that's all right. In Republican victories in New Jersey that I've seen, that's how you do it. You just get the African-American vote to stay home, like Newark or Camden, and you can pretty much get a Republican elected by just getting them to stay home. And I think that's how they cut their deals typically. So I see the writing on the wall and how they're not going to want to do that. But what if there's another candidate, another compromise candidate? What if Kamala endorses somebody? Do you see something like that happening or not a chance?
I don't, Rich. Think about it. Like who? Gavin Newsom? He's underwater here in California. People are leaving the state. He took a $100 million budget surplus, turned it into a $50 million budget deficit. The schools are lousy. Crime is up. What's his argument? Every single thing you don't like about Joe Biden, his extremism on climate change, Gavin Newsom is worse. He wants to ban the sale of gas-powered cars by 2035. He praised all the spending. He even praised Biden's disaster pullout from Afghanistan. So there's nothing that Biden has done that Gavin Newsom has not praised and would do and would also make worse. So who else do you have? Mayor Pete?
I've heard some talking about Governor Wes Moore, Maryland. Who? Governor Wes Moore.
That's my point. That's my point. And also, there's been talk about Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama hated being first lady. She complained about being in the fishbowl. What do you think politics is? She doesn't even like the game. There's no way she's going to do it. So again,
I don't think she would do it either. She's making a ton of cash.
Who's there? What's their lineup? Who's on their bench? Who do they have?
They've got
AOC?
Joe El Baboso Biden.
Give it somebody. Who do they have? They've got nothing. They're stuck with him.
Well, you know who just got a job, who's available because he lost his job? Jamal Bowman.
Yeah. Also, Jussie Smollett's available, I hear. So I guess they got some options. I've got to think outside the box. Jamal Bowman is now unemployed.
Larry Elder, you're the best. I want to thank you for everything, for being here with us, and for giving us some of your time. And please let the audience know how they can get a copy of the book, how they could follow you, how they could tune into the podcast, and everything else.
Just go to my Twitter account at Larry Elder. Be sure and follow me, and you'll be able to watch that weekly podcast. Again, check out The New Norm. It's also a website called The New Norm, a Twitter account called The New Norm. My book is called As Built California. You can get it on Barnes & Noble or on Amazon.com. And you can get my weekly column by just going to Town Hall.
Outstanding. You are a gentleman, a scholar, and a patriot. Godspeed to you, Larry Elder.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Folks, we're coming right back. Rich Valdez, don't go anywhere.
Well, thank you, Rich, and thank you for everything. I know you very well, and I listen, but I have a lot of people that listen, and they love your show, and I appreciate it very much.
America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, America, welcome back. We continue our conversation tonight, again, giving a word of congratulations. Felicidades to El Trompito Donaldus Magnus, the 45th president of these United States, for winning the debate tonight. Hands down, head and shoulders winner. I can't see an argument being made in any other direction, but I want to get some reaction to that. And before I do, I want you to hear a clip. We've got a clip of Trump and Biden going at it about fixing the tax system and Medicare. And, well, take a listen.
what I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. Billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 billion, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID. With dealing with everything we have to do with. Look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Help.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security. These millions and millions of people coming in, they're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare.
Very, very telling, right? Very telling. And again, just going back to the comments from Casey Hunt on Twitter, just remarkable. I want to get some reaction to this from Tim Murtaugh. He was the communications director for Trump's 2020 campaign. He's the founder of Line Drive Public Affairs, and he's the author of the book Swing Hard in Case You Hit It, My Escape from Addiction and a Shot at Redemption on the Trump campaign. Tim Murtaugh, welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much, Rich. Glad to be with you.
Likewise, brother. So I want to, you just heard that clip. I think that one in particular was really indicative of how the evening went. Biden seemed lost. He seemed confused. He came in and out. He started off talking really, really fast and not blinking, and then that kind of dissipated very quickly. And it just seemed he looked scared or nervous, or I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little critical here, but it didn't look good for Biden. Tim Murtaugh.
No, it certainly didn't. I mean, I think that Biden started off really, really bad, and at least for the first 40 minutes or so, I mean, it just got progressively worse. And that answer that you just played right there, where he's misspeaking, he's stating things wrong. He says trillionaires and when he means billionaires, and then he says it raises 500 million instead of billion, and there's way too many numbers, and he's having to correct himself during the course of his answer several different times. It's just a mess. And then he finally grounds to a halt at the end where he says, and we beat Medicare, which is just a weird thing to say. And then Trump just picks it up and just beats him over the head with it by saying, yeah, you sure did beat Medicare, beat it to death. Yeah, I mean, just what a great response from Trump. That little exchange right there not only showed the meandering path that Biden's brain is taking, it also showed the stark contrast between the two guys standing there on stage. I mean, Trump was sharp and he was in control, and Biden was, well, I mean, I think the whole world saw what Biden was tonight, and I think the reaction is 100% universally, it's cringe. I'm like, no one can believe what we just watched.
Yeah, really, it was just eye-opening to me. I don't think I've ever seen a presidential candidate perform so badly, let alone one that's actually president, right? Just really remarkable.
I know. And think about this.
Go ahead.
Can I make one?
Sure.
You just said something that made me think of something. I want to say before I forget it. Remember, for the past week or so, and I confess I had some concerns about this as well, but the media was lecturing for the last week that when the Trump campaign and Trump himself, when they talk about Biden and his feeble mind and all that stuff and how he'd be lucky to get on stage without falling over and, face planting on the stage, media said, now be careful, you've lowered the bar so much for Biden. All he has to do is walk on stage and step over that bar and he will have had a successful debate. Well, maybe they're right that the Trump campaign did lower the bar for Biden too much, but even so, he failed to clear it. He failed.
Yeah, that's so true. And I was concerned too. My prediction, and I think it worked out the way I thought it would. I think Biden really only came loaded for one or two hits. He wanted he's going to swing for a knockout punch, and then he was going to, try and follow that up. As long as he had two sound bites that MSNBC and CNN could play on loop between now and November, or at least now and the next week, to say, hey, look, Biden held his own, or at least their version of it. Biden dominated in the debate, then it could be questionable. But I think that Democrats have admitted, right? Casey Hunt, who just threw Caroline Leavitt off of her show for disagreeing with her, she just tweeted that Biden's open mouth look and his voice are a huge problem for Democrats.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I tweeted something about this, but if you remember back, and I don't remember this election, I wasn't alive for it, but the 1960 election, Kennedy and Nixon. And as the story goes, people say that those who listened on the radio thought that Nixon won the debate between Kennedy and Nixon because he was so well spoken and he argued very well. But those who watched on television thought that Kennedy won because he looked better and he was more presentable on this new medium TV. Well, in this case, Biden lost everybody. He lost everybody who was watching it on mute, if they had their TV on mute. The open mouth look and the confused, dazed look on his face the whole time, that was a loser. And then if by some unfortunate quirk of fate you had to be forced to listen to what Joe Biden was saying, then you knew he was terrible. And so, I mean, it's just an awful performance all the way around. And I think every once in a while, I think Casey Hunt is an example of that. Every once in a while, something happens in politics where the truth is just so staggeringly obvious that not even the biased leftist media can pretend it's not true.
Yeah, well put. And yeah, I agree with you. The reference to radio and television, we just had that discussion a little while ago as well. And one would think that, you know, it could go in either direction. But in a situation like this one, I think Joe Biden's on his own. He did really, really poorly. Folks, we're coming right back with Tim Murtaugh, former communications director for the Trump 2020 campaign. And he's the founder of Line Drive Public Affairs. He's also got a book called Swing Hard in Case You Hit It, My Escape from Addiction and a Shot at Redemption on the Trump campaign. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Mr. Call Screener, who is a budding radio star, by the way. Richie Valdez is terrific.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime.
He's got a way with words. The marketing genius. Folks, that's Donald Trump at the debate tonight, where he clearly dominated and won this thing, took the trophy home and everything. Our guest is Tim Murtaugh, former Trump campaign 2020 communications director. Tim Murtaugh, I think Trump was accurate in what he was saying. And I think the responses that we've heard from Biden, as you heard in the previous segment, were weak. And you've got Democrats out there now freaking out. Nicole Wallace on MSNBC is saying that tomorrow morning there's going to be a conversation as to whether they replace Joe Biden or not. Casey Hunt from CNN is saying we're effed. Again, she's quoting CNN. We're effed. Democrats despair over Biden debate performance. She then gives her own commentary saying the voice, open mouth look, and visual contrast between President Biden and former President Trump all have Democrats I'm talking to nearly beside themselves watching this debate. And that's gotten a couple of thousand retweets since she tweeted it about an hour ago. So my thought here is, what do you think the next step is?
Well, I mean, look, since during the commercial break and right before I came on, I did have the chance for just a couple minutes to watch Kamala Harris, the vice president, on CNN give her reaction to the debate. And she acknowledged that Biden got off to a slow start, but then she said, but he finished strong. And then she proceeded to talk about his performance as though it was like a normal debate performance. So it seems to me that the White House's initial reaction is just to press ahead and try to convince people that they did not see what they just saw. I'm telling you, that's the White House's reaction right now, and I believe that's what they're going to stick to. Now, the idea that they can just push aside the incumbent president of the United States is kind of foolish. He has to be willing to go. There is no chance that Biden will not be the candidate in November if he does want to remain the candidate. There's no way they're going to. What I'm trying to say is there's no way they're going to force him out if he doesn't want to go. And that's a decision that only he can make, and I dare say Jill Biden will help him make, because I think she bears some responsibility for the elder abuse that we all witnessed tonight by forcing Joe Biden to go out there on that stage. So I think there's going to be a lot of Democrats who do want to have that conversation with Biden, and it sounds really nice to try to ease calm among the party faithful when you're on CNN saying, oh my gosh, that was a disaster, or whatever Casey Hunt is tweeting about. Getting it done is another problem. And also there's an issue about Ohio. There has to be somebody nominated by August 7th in Ohio in order to be able to be on the ballot, and I'm not sure they can do that in time. And what if they try to leapfrog Kamala Harris and go to Gavin Newsom instead to replace Biden, to skip over a black woman who is currently the vice president? Or are they going to be stuck running Kamala Harris, as terrible a candidate as we know that she would be? I mean, it would be a huge mess for the Democrats. It's not impossible. There is a non-zero chance that that happens, but it would be messy, and it would cause a lot of problems for the Democrats one way or another.
Yeah, I think you're spot on with that one, Tim Murtaugh. Now, and I agree. I've long felt now that, I ask everybody who comes on this show, do you think they do a switcheroo at the convention? Because I think they can. But I just, like you said, I don't think they can. Just while they might be able to, I don't think they can politically pull it off. There's too many moving parts, unless they get Kamala Harris on board to do the endorsement of this next person. And again, who would they pick?
Her motivation be?
I don't know.
What would be her motivation to give up her spot in line? No way. There's no way. She's the vice president of the United States. If he's not going to run, it's her turn. That's the way she's going to see it. And the Democrats are going to have just a giant mess on their hands if they try to push her out too. I mean, wow.
Yeah. Now, I want you to let everybody who's listening know how they can get a copy of your book and learn more about the work you're doing, including your podcast.
Well, I appreciate that, Rich. Yes, my book is called Swing Hard in Case You Hit It, My Escape from Addiction and Shot at Redemption on the Trump Campaign. And it's about two things, really. It's about my life in politics leading up to the 2020 Trump campaign. And it's also about my decades-long struggle with alcohol. And it basically follows my path from waking up in jail in Fairfax County, Virginia, and then to flying on Air Force One with President Trump less than 4 years later, and all of the different twists and turns that my life took in that. And so if you like presidential politics, if you're a Trump voter, I think you'll like this book. If you know anybody or you yourself has ever struggled with addiction, then I think there's other reasons to write this book, and I think to read this book. And I think everybody can find something that can apply to their own lives in here. Everyone knows someone who has struggled with substances in the past, if not themselves, and someone in their families. And if people can pick up this book for 10 minutes and while reading it don't pick up their drug of choice or their drink of choice, then it was worth writing. You can find it on Amazon. It's called Swing Hard in Case You Hit It by me, Tim Murtaugh, and I would appreciate it if people would at least check it out. And yes, I do a podcast with some fellow Trump alums, Hogan Gidley and Sonny Nelson, on Rumble and Apple and everywhere else you can find podcasts, and that's called the Line Drive Podcast, and we talk about politics, current affairs, pop culture, news of the day, all that stuff. Line Drive Podcast on Rumble. And I appreciate the opportunity to promote those things. Thanks, Rich.
You bet it, brother. Happy to help. And folks, check out Tim Murtaugh, his website again, linedrivellc.com, if you want to learn more about his company. Tim Murtaugh, I thank you for staying up late and joining us. I really appreciate it.
You got it, Rich. Nothing better I like than watching debates and then talking about them.
You got it, man. God bless. Folks, we're coming right back with the rest of your phone calls, 833-4-VALDEZ.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S. This is America. This is Night. This is Rich Valdez. Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
All right, America, welcome back. We've got a full call board. We got calls from all over: San Francisco, California, Connecticut, Vermont, Pennsylvania, New York, Montana. We're going to get to all of you straight ahead. I want to start off in Jersey, WOND. Let's go to Denise.
Listen to this. First of all, two things before I tell you about the sadness of this debate. We lost you on WOND. I'm in North Jersey, but I listened to you on WOND. We lost you for an hour, which is a bummer.
Tonight? Tonight?
And then,
are you saying tonight you weren't able to hear me?
No. We only get you for 2 hours now.
Oh,
on WOND. Yeah, it's a bummer. The thing that gets me is that don't the Biden people see they're around him all the time? Wouldn't they have seen that he's going to make a fool of himself?
I think they thought with this 5 days off that they had to prep him and get him going and, give him whatever supplements they're giving him. Clearly, he came out. He looked like me after I drink a large espresso. I talk a lot faster. I'm a lot more at the edge of my seat. My hands are flying all over the place versus me in, Open Phone America, where I'm 2 hours into the show already, where the coffee's wearing off and, my voice gets a little drier. And I get that. That's, 3 hours, not an hour and a half. But my point is, whatever Biden was doing, whether it was coffee or anything else, it was hitting hard in the beginning, and he was stuttering and stammering, and he was all over the place. And you're right, it wasn't a good look, and they should have known better, but somebody believes that he can do it. I guess, when you fool people, Lincoln said it, right? You can fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all of the time. Denise, in Jersey, shout out to you. Thanks for the update on WOND. I appreciate it. Let us continue. Who else can we talk with tonight? Let's go to Jim, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, KDKA. Go right ahead, Jim.
Hey, let's hit the Medicare stuff. I'm on Medicare. I'm a Medicare insurance broker. I'm appointed in 6 states: New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Kentucky, Ohio, whatever. Here's the thing. It only covers people who are not juvenile. Juvenile means when you're earlier, your body can't produce insulin. When you're adult onset, you get overweight. I have a lot of Medicare clients who are diabetic.
30 seconds.
Now, the $35 copay, it was there in 2019. Trump's right. The $2,000 out-of-pocket maximum is $2,000, not $200. He had nothing to do with it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. It was a big deal, and it got very little media attention. But the only reason I knew is because the Trump people were making a big deal of it, and they were really excited about it happening. And it's usual Biden, right? Biden likes to take credit for anything he can. Jim in Pittsburgh, I appreciate it. KDKA in the building. Folks, we come back to the rest of your calls and more. We've got a lot to talk about. Don't go anywhere. Hang on tight. Coming right back. Rich Valdez, America at Night, and Open Phone America starts momentarily.
Live from the city that never sleeps. 17 miles from Madison Square Garden, New York City. It's America at Night with Rich Valdez, America's favorite late night talk program, featuring interesting guests from around the world and calls from across America. And now, here is your host, Rich Valdez.
Hi there, good evening, and what's up, America? I am Rich Valdez, Valdez with an S, at Rich Valdez on all of the social media. Welcome to hour number 3 of the program. We're live, we're national, happy to be here. It's Thursday night, debate night, I want to congratulate President Trump on a big debate victory. If you want to weigh in on that, give us a call. Our phone number is 833-4825-337, 833-4-VALDEZ. And wow, that's all I could say is wow. Quite a abysmal performance by Joe El Baboso Biden. And honestly, President Trump, very disciplined, very refined, I'm going to say. He really wasn't as aggressive as he has been in the past, likely because he, wasn't really up against much, right? Biden really did a miserable job. The Democrats are really echoing that sentiment more than anything I could say. And, of course, we got all of you guys out there that want to weigh in on this. So we're going to get to your calls as well. I do want to start with a reaction. Right after the debate, the running mate for Team Biden, Kamala Harris, that's right, the Vice President of the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris, she took to television, to cable news, to start the commentary, and she was on CNN with Anderson Cooper. Listen to this.
This was a debate that your campaign wanted. You pushed for this debate at this moment. Obviously, you can't honestly say, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November. I'm talking about one of the most important elections in our collective lifetime. And do we want?
Now, hold on a second. Hold your horses. Did she just say, yeah, it was a slow start? Nobody is arguing that. A slow start, ma'am. The fastest he was all night was in the first 30, 40, maybe a minute and a half. He was speaking so fast. He was tripping over his words. His eyes were super big. He didn't blink for like a minute and a half straight. I think most people blink on a regular basis, just to lubricate the eyeball. It was amazing what I saw. So anyway, Kamala Harris thinks, oh, yeah, is that the spin we're going to give this? The White House is going to say, well, I don't know. Well, you know the thing, man. Anyway, go ahead.
To look at what November will bring and go on a course for America that is about a destruction of democracy, electing a man who has said he'll be a dictator on day one? Or do we want to continue on a course that's about strengthening America's economy, building and creating 15 million American jobs, over 800,000 manufacturing jobs? I got that this is the afterplay for the debate, this conversation that I'm in, and I understand why everyone wants to talk about it, but I think it's also important to recognize that the choice in November between these two people that were on the debate stage involves extraordinary stakes. And there's one person on that stage who has the endorsement of their vice president, and that's Joe Biden. Mike Pence is nowhere to be found in supporting Donald Trump, and that's why he has to look for someone else to run with him who, as we know, will embolden and rubber stamp whatever he wants, because they're going to have to make a choice to not be Mike Pence and to put Donald Trump over their country.
Now she was, I don't know where to start. She's trying so hard to speak over Anderson Cooper, and he's trying to clarify. And again, this is Anderson Cooper from CNN. He's not known for being, a Biden basher or anything like that. I got to tell you, this is almost as much fun as watching Trump win the night that he won in 2016, where everybody was falling apart. All of them, Cenk Uygur, all these people on CNN and MSNBC. It was great. But I want to know what you guys think about the vice president's comments. Kamala Harris, she says that it was a slow start, but people know what they have to do between now and November. And Biden's the guy who's got the endorsement of Kamala Harris, so that solves everything. All right, anyway, let us go to Walter, St. Augustine, Florida, WFOY. Walter, go right ahead.
Rich, hermano.
What's up?
I just want to say, yeah, you and your guests and yourself, of course, tonight analyzed it perfectly. Trump, he destroyed Biden on all the issues. He pissed Biden off, too. And, Rich, CNN removed the audience. They knew that Trump would gotten most of the applause because he was coherent. He was strong physically, mentally, posturing, and he had all the answers. And O'Reilly said something crazy tonight. He said that it looked like he had Biden had an what do they call that, a lobotomy.
Oh, he does though. He looked like they took something out of him, and he just wasn't functioning right.
Exactly. It reminded you of the movie One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest at parts. It really did.
Yeah,
Well, Rich,
and you know why?
I
I'll tell you why. Because he's actually like that all the time. The problem is they never give him more than 90 seconds or so, at least in the clips that I see. He comes out, well, we can't, thank you, folks, and he leaves. And maybe he'll turn back for one extra question, but rarely does he ever take a question. And I think that's part of the issue. Tonight there was follow-up questions from two different moderators, and you had Trump there hitting him from different angles, and he couldn't handle it. Go right ahead, Walter.
Yeah, and the Dems wanted this debate. So you know what the Chinese say. Be careful what you wish for. So they got it. Well, Rich, I want to ask you, what is el baboso in Spanish?
So baboso, the literal translation, right? For one that is babeando, would be one that's drooling, but it's used colloquially as a bumbling idiot, and that's the context that I use it in, because he's not really drooling, at least not yet. Joe El Baboso Biden. So, he's definitely a baboso, and I encourage you to look at it. I think Google does a pretty good job on Google Translate of translating El Baboso. Thank you, Walter, for your call. I appreciate it. St. Augustine, Florida, in the building, WFOY. We continue. Let us go to the middle of the country, a little bit north, Bloomington, Illinois, WHOW. Let's check in with Becky. Hey, Becky, you're on with Rich Valdez. Welcome.
Okay, I listened to this on the radio tonight, and it's a bit different than what you saw on TV. But at the same time, in 2016, it was a choice between Hillary and Trump, and I cannot tolerate that woman. So for the first time in my life, I registered to vote. I knew absolutely nothing about Trump, but I voted for him. Well, anyhow, I guess she went bonkers because she had lost, tore her house up, broke stuff, and then they said when they found her, she had drank a whole thing of booze, and she was passed out, drunk, face down in her own vomit. Now, if they put something like this up to run with either Biden or whoever they put up, I got to make sure I vote again, because there's no way I do not want that woman in any office. So let everybody get your rosary beads out and start praying that they don't. I've heard her name thrown around quite a bit lately.
Me too. Honestly, I've even heard, it was Dick Morris that said that she's going to be the one. And honestly, she probably has a better shot than Kamala and Joe Biden. I would agree with that. But I don't know. I don't know if they're able to pull it off. But you never know. It's the Democrats. They literally put Joe Biden, like Anderson Cooper said, your team literally asked for this debate. They controlled every aspect of it. The muting of the microphones, the follow-ups, the empty auditorium with nobody there, all of it. And this is still Trump reigning champion. I think they're going to make a new gold belt for Trump after tonight's performance. Becky, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Let us see. Where do we go now? I want to go to Bill, Burlington, Vermont, WVMT. Bill, go right ahead.
How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing great. Thanks, Bill. How are you?
Good, good. I'm going to give you two things you've never heard before, at least not up to now. I hope you will listen all the way through. Regarding the debate tonight, it was very obvious that they gave Biden something at the break, because if you rewind, you will notice that his skin color changes drastically after the break. He was pale as a dishcloth in the first part, and after that, he almost looked like he had a normal skin tone. And his performance came up a little bit, not great, but it did come up somewhat.
Yeah, I honestly didn't notice that, but go ahead.
Play it back, and it's very
What's your
clear.
second point?
I noticed stuff. Second point is going forward. How do we do it? Hey, if they're going to replace him, how are they doing it? Who's it going to be? Okay.
Yeah.
This scenario came to me about 3-4 months ago, almost like in a flash. And it goes back to the fall of 2020. The former CEO of May's company had a press conference, and he laid out, he said how he was approached by, I think, the FBI in 2015, a sting operation against Hillary. Bottom line was that they eventually told him that the plan all along was Hillary was going to be president until 2024, when Michelle was then going to run, and Obama was going to be running everything behind the scenes. How does this happen? How do you get Kamala out? And I'm not endorsing this. I'm not promoting this. I'm just telling you what came to me kind of in a flash. Imagine this. News flash. President Biden and Kamala Harris, let's say at Camp David, were attacked out of nowhere, and they were assassinated by a Trump extremist who was then killed.
Well, I mean, if we come up with scenarios like that, we'll have scenarios all day. But I don't think any of that's on the table right now. If something unfortunate like that happens in the next 4 months or 5 months, call me back and tell me, I told you, I predicted it on your debate show on the 27th of June. But right now, I mean, that's really far-fetched to think that this one's going to get assassinated and that one's going to get assassinated. I'm pretty confident in telling you, and just from all the politics that I've observed, and you've probably observed a lot more politics than me, John, is that, Bill, is that I can tell you, I'm ready to bet a paycheck that Biden's going to run against Trump. Maybe I'll lose that, but I'm pretty confident that that's going to happen. And I don't know how it comes out. I don't know who the winner is. I suspect it would be Trump. But I don't think there's any change of candidates. I don't think Michelle Obama runs for anything ever because Michelle Obama loves making lots of cash. And when you're in the White House, you don't make lots of cash. You make it afterwards. And they're in there afterwards right now, Barack and Michelle. So I just don't see any scenario where they go, you know what, we're going to make less money. That's something Trump did. And I don't think anybody else is going to do it. But thank you. Appreciate it, Bill. Burlington, Vermont, WVMT. Folks, are coming right back. The rest of your calls and more. We got Michigan, New York, Vermont, Montana, Connecticut, Maine, and more. Don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. America at Night with Rich Valdez.
And there is a conversation happening inside Biden's circle, and certainly a much more frank conversation happening inside the Democratic coalition. And I think there will be stories of a lot of concern about the performance tonight. And I think when you say
conversations happening, what do you mean?
I think people are talking. I think the conversations range from whether he should be in this race tomorrow morning to what was wrong with him. I mean, he has a cold.
All right, folks, that was Nicole Wallace, MSNBC, turncoat Republican.
And there is a conversation happening.
And there she was again. And she's saying that there's going to be a conversation happening about what we do moving forward with Joe El Baboso Biden. So I think it's safe to say that I don't think anything's going to happen. I really don't. But maybe, maybe I'm missing the big point here, that they're going to make a push. And I believe it's politics, right? So the idea is if we can get the Democrat establishment, the left within the media, to turn against Biden this quickly, the Anderson Cooper clip, all of this that you're hearing, the Casey Hunt, all of that, so that tomorrow, right, that's tonight's cycle, right? That's what's happening right now live on cable news. Those clips will start circulating into tomorrow's morning. Casey Hunt will take over from her Twitter feed to actually hosting her morning show on CNN and continue to beat up Biden and ask that question, should we get rid of Biden? To the point where there's so much pressure on Biden that he feels like the right thing to do is to step aside. And maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Honestly, it doesn't make a difference to me. I don't believe anybody can win it. I think Hillary Clinton would do better than Kamala and would do better than Joe, but it doesn't mean by any means that she's going to win, right? I don't think you just come out of the woodwork and have not been anywhere for X amount of years and then just be like, hey, here I am. I just don't think that that's a win. It's not a winning strategy. So I don't know. But I want to get your thoughts on this whole debate and our phone number, 833-482-5337, 833-4-VALDEZ. Let's go to Allison, Portland, Maine, WLOB. Allison, go right ahead.
Oh, hi, Ola. Yeah, oh, man, I just cannot believe the state that Biden's in. I mean, if everything weren't so far gone, the Congress would be bringing up 25th Amendment tomorrow. But I just cannot believe the state. I mean, it's just aggravating and heartbreaking and just perplexing and everything. He's just so far gone, and it's clear that they were. I don't think it's probably caffeine. Caffeine's so unpredictable. It's more likely something medical like steroids, corticosteroids, or something that they're pumping him up with for a while.
Maybe.
But it's hard to, because the way he just goes on and on and on, and rapid fire for him in the first part, and then just gets worse and worse and gets more and more incoherent. When Mr. Trump finally just said, "I don't know what you were talking about," it's just so obvious, and
yeah.
And I just can't believe the state this country's in, that we have somebody like that in there, and that he might even be reelected. Knock on wood that he won't be, as Mr. Trump said, if there's any wood around. He's so funny and witty and charming and everything. Oh man. And the only thing I wish Mr. Trump had done is not quite gone off on tangents. So not tangents, but he kept going back to the previous things that Biden had said and not answering the questions. I kind of wish he'd answered the questions and then gone back to the things. But, of course, it's hard to say what the moderators would have done. But that's about the only thing I can really criticize Mr. Trump for. And I wish he'd brought up the actual name. A number of people have been saying this. I wish he'd brought up the names of some of the small percentage of the people who have been raped and murdered and horrible things that have happened to them down because of the illegal immigrants, Lake and Riley and so many.
Yeah.
I wish he'd brought that up. But he was just so spot on and so many things. And bringing up World War III at the end, the way that Biden is so inept with the international policy too, and the inflation is so obvious. I wish he'd mentioned the Inflation Reduction Act, which has to be probably the most misnamed bill in the history of the country and the Congress.
Yeah. Allison, thank you for your call. Sorry, the music means they're kicking both of us out of here. But spot on, good analysis. I think you're spot on when it comes to Biden. Not in good shape, and Trump nailed it, knocked it out of the park. Allison in Portland, Maine, thank you for your call. Shout out to WLOB. And folks, we continue with the rest of your calls from all across America. 833-4-VALDEZ, 833-482-5337. I'm Rich Valdez.
Call now, 833-4-VALDEZ. That's 833-482-5337. 833-4-VALDEZ. That's Valdez with an S.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
You are a child.
Specific concern.
I got to tell you, I really enjoyed listening to that clip about the golf swing and the handicap and whatnot. Joe Biden's there struggling to get through these sentences. And if he were a younger man, I would say, oh, he must have been really nervous. But I don't think Joe Biden's nervous. I think Joe Biden's not well. And, I guess by that account, he probably did a great job, right? Being exhausted, being up past his bedtime. I don't know. All I know is, there's a part of me that's compassionate that doesn't want to see this man be put through this anymore because he can't handle it. And then there's another side. I mean, it's like, man, how bad are you? Like, just take it easy. Don't run again. When he ran for president, he said, I'm not sure if I'll run a second term. He had his golden ticket to be out. Could have done whatever he wanted to do. But instead, he got greedy. And this is what happens when you get greedy. Let's go to the phones. Shall we? We shall. David, San Francisco, California. He's listening online, richvaldez.com. David loves to share a differing opinion, and we love to hear how great Joe Biden's doing. David, go right ahead.
Well, there you go, lying again.
When was the last time I lied? Did I say that you were a gentleman and a scholar? If I did, I lied. Go ahead.
So you know that Joe Biden has stuttered since he was a little kid, right? So
I know. No, I don't know that. Joe Biden has stuttered since he's had open intracranial surgery some years ago because of an aneurysm, and then he had it again. But that was not as bad or as pronounced as it's been this evening.
Yeah, so you're doing cheap shots, right?
Yes, I am a cheap shot artist, sir. I'm not a university professor. I'm not here to give some sort of big intellectual analysis. I'm here to take cheap shots.
Yeah, Make America Great Again is MAGA, right? And for all of you MAGA types, I haven't heard a single thing that you've tried to do tonight to make America great. You're doing cheap shots.
I am promoting the candidacy of the person I believe will make this country better for my children. I believe in children. I believe in procreating. I want them to have a life where they can have a family of their own. And I don't see a very positive future for my daughters when I look at the guy that was stuttering and bumbling on that stage tonight. And not just his performance tonight, his performance since he got in. The man is an absolute disaster. It's okay if you don't like Trump. It's okay if you don't like Jesus. It's okay if you don't like straight married people. Whatever the case is, none of that stuff matters. What does matter is you should like an economy that is well. You should like an economy that is headed towards being robust. That's not the case that we have. You should like living in a place where people are safe and women are not getting raped by illegal aliens because of his failure and lack of control at the southern border. These are the things that the American people are tired of. And you're talking about Joe Biden stuttering, me being a cheap shot artist that's a liar, and you haven't brought anything to the table, David.
Ass kisser.
Oh, come on, David. Why? First, you should. I'm an ass kisser because I think that Trump does a better job than Biden. Can you make a case for Joe Biden?
Tonight, do you remember in 1984, the book 1984? The big line they used in there was less is more. Big Brother was always telling us less is more. So Donald Trump tonight said that less is more. He said that if we cut the taxes on the rich, that America will get out of a deficit. That's less is more.
He didn't say if we cut taxes on the rich, America gets out of a deficit. It's not what he said. What he said was that while he was president and he presided over the largest tax cuts in American history, that we had the highest tax revenues. And that goes towards that in some degree, but that's not going to get us out of the mess we're in. And just to go back to what you were saying about less being more, CNN flash poll, who won the debate tonight? CNN reporting 33% say Biden won, 67% say Trump won. That's CNN, David.
Well, less is more. And the other angle that you like I say, you're not dealing with real issues tonight. Social Security. How are you going to fill up Social Security? So Donald Trump did not advocate raising taxes on the rich to fill up Social Security. And he also did not say raise the minimum wage so that'll fill it up fast. You double the minimum wage and it'll fill it up real fast.
Oh,
right?
So I don't know anybody, maybe besides you, that wants to double the minimum wage.
Do you want to fill up Social Security?
Number one, I don't. Okay, so don't vote for me for president. If we could do away with most of the social programs we have, go for it. I'm not running for Congress. I'm not running for president. It's not for me. I don't believe in my lifetime I'm ever going to cash a single Social Security check, let alone any of my children. So maybe that's your situation, and God bless you if it is, but I don't believe that it's around for any of us. We have major problems right now. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid are more than 50% of all of our expenditures in this country. We are a welfare state. We can't continue to be one unless we have a robust economy. So we have to work on the policies that bring money in the door. And we don't produce anything, right? The United States government's not a business. So in order to make any type of money, they've got to be able to take it from me. They've got to be able to take it from you and the people listening. So as long as they're doing this taxation, a.k.a. I'm going to go with theft, right, or strong-arm borrowing, as long as they're going to extort people out of taxes, you have to be able to do it in a manner that works. And right now, the system we have doesn't work. So anybody who legitimately cares about Social Security, I would opt for Donald Trump, irrespective of what he says, just because I know that his policies are going to bring more money into the federal government's coffers so that we can do more with it. For that point alone, I would vote for Trump if that was really something I was concerned about. David, thanks for the call. I always appreciate a good sparring session with you, although lately you weren't bringing issues. You're just bringing ad hominem attacks. But it's debate night, so we'll take it. Folks, we're coming right back. The rest of your calls and more, don't go anywhere.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez. No hair, no care, and live on the air, it's Rich Valdez.
I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months. And then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history.
Worst administration in history. That is, again, Trump v. Biden, the debate of the year. And I want to get your reaction to this stuff. Let's go to Jane, Saratoga, New York, WGDGJ. I always mess that up. Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't know. Hey, Rich, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, first of all, I would thank you. I love Larry Elder.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, you know what? Biden is so full of himself, and he is so narcissistic. He loves. I don't think he'll let anybody take him out of office. And he lies. He came on. Did anyone notice he lied twice about his son dying in Iraq?
Yeah, and then he corrected himself. He said who was in Iraq, because he said died in Iraq, and he's been in trouble for that. I don't know, a bunch of times already. But people say, "Sir, your kid didn't die in Iraq," and you know, I don't mean to be rude or flippant or anything, but it seems to be something that continuously happens.
He says it all the time, and Kamala Harris, she has the most annoying voice on the face of the earth. And Joe Biden is a pathological liar. You listen to things he says. He never tells the truth. And he has a terrible temper. And he's so funny when his temper flares up and he loses it. It's almost, the whole thing's like a Saturday Night Live skit. It's kind of.
You're right. It's so like a Saturday Night Live skit. The sad part, it's real life and it's really happening. It's really our country. Jane in Saratoga, New York on WDGJ. That is Paul Vandenberg country. Big shout out to you guys. Great station there, by the way. And we continue with your calls. Let us go to Edward, Rutland, Vermont, WVMT. Go right ahead.
Yes, sir. The one thing stood out to me, a few points, but when Trump was responding to the white supremacist thing, I was hoping he would add what has been censored all along about, to paraphrase him, it's not exact, but
speed it up.
He said they're to be condemned. I wish he had said it right there, because I think there's still millions of people, because of the fundamental.
Yeah, I'm having a tough time following you, Edward. I'm sorry about that, but thank you. Big shout out to WVMT. In the interest of time, I have to move on. I apologize for that. Let us continue. I want to go to Rob, Wilmington, Delaware, WDEL. Go right ahead.
Yes. Just before the debate, CNN had a lady that was saying that Donald Trump was a liar. And then at the end of the debate, she comes back and says that, again, Donald Trump lied, but did not back up any of the statements. They confirmed any of Donald Trump making any lies. Do you have any confirmation?
No fact
regarding
checking,
that?
right? No fact checking going on from the fact checkers. That's just how they do it sometimes, Rob. I appreciate the call from WDEL. We continue. Let us go to John, Lansing, Michigan, WILS. Go right ahead.
Thank you. First time caller, long time listener.
Oh, thank you, John.
Yes. Right at the very, very beginning of the debate, in the first 5 minutes, maybe even 3 minutes, Biden made a statement about creating 1,500 jobs, and it kind of jumped right out at me, because it wasn't 1,500 jobs. It might have been 15,000 jobs, or 150,000, or 1.5 million, but it wasn't 1,500.
Yeah, and he also said we had 1,000 trillionaires. he just seemed to be off his game. That one, listen, I do stuff like that too. Probably why I'm not a politician. 1 0, 9 zeros. I'm sloppy like that when it comes to numbers. But I'm not the president, and I think Joe Biden needs to do a better job at that. And I don't think he's going to do a better job. I think he gave it his best. He took 5 days off. He's at Camp David. He had 16 different advisors. He's been doing this a lifetime. And this was him putting his best foot forward. His best days are behind him. I think Joe Biden should really, for the sake of legacy, say, look, I was president. I was running for re-election. I decided, you know what? I want to live the rest of my days. I want to take care of my granddaughter, Navy, and the rest of them, and just enjoy. And he should really consider, stepping back and letting Kamala Harris take the reins. If with any luck, a President Harris could say she's going to have a surprise running mate. And imagine this ticket. Harris, Obama. No, not Michelle. Barack. Right now, I'm not sure if a former president can run as vice president. I don't think so. But maybe he can. And just imagine if he did. That's some fantasy football, crazy fantasy land stuff right there that I think sounds like a ticket that a lot of people would get behind, right? To have Barack Obama back. Anyway, I don't know. I'll make it up as I go along. John in Lansing, Michigan, thank you for your call. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. I hope you call back again soon. Big shout out to WILS. And we go to the rest of your calls right after this in the speed round. Don't move a muscle.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
Across America to the liberty-loving Latino, Rich Valdez.
This is America at Night with Rich Valdez.
All right, amigos, welcome back. I want to go to Anna, Montana. Anna from Montana. That rhymes. Go right ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, I just wanted to talk about the debate we finished watching recently. I was really worried about Trump. He kept looking down, and I know they didn't have any...
No, it was Biden.
Or, excuse me, Biden was looking down. They don't have any pieces of paper to look at, do they?
I don't know. I think sometimes they have a pad in front of them where they could take notes on what, the opponent is saying so they can address it when they respond. But I know they weren't able to speak or physically contact any of their aides or anything like that. But yeah, my biggest concern was seeing Joe Biden's the looks on his face. He just didn't look well. He looked scared, like a little kid that was yelled at many times. It just looked like he was going through both physical and emotional problems throughout the whole thing. And it was just really sad, really, really sad, Anna. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Big shout out to everybody in your neck of the woods, KQDI. And let's continue. I want to go to Ohio and check in with my buddy Paul. Go right ahead.
Hey, Rich. Yeah, I normally watch The Twilight Zone after I listen to your show at night. And
that sounds like a setup for a joke.
Tonight, yeah, and what I see tonight was from Joe Biden was The Twilight Zone, man. That was just crazy. The way his face was, his eyes, the way he looks to me like he has a genuine hatred for Donald Trump, and maybe the country too. I don't know. But
yeah, listen,
that's what
I think you're probably onto something.
Yeah, my wife told me, she said, you're a pretty good judge of character sometimes. Now, I'm not stroking my ego or nothing, but I've seen hatred in that man's face toward Donald Trump. And look what everything that's happened to him. Look what they've done to him. And Donald Trump was spot on tonight, man. I said he will destroy him, and he did. In my opinion. That's just my opinion, people. And I got to also give credit to CNN and Tapper and the lady there. They wasn't too bad, Rich, tonight, I thought.
Yeah, well, there wasn't much they could do, I think. They knew Trump would turn around and say something like, oh, I see, I'm debating both you guys and him, like he did to Chris Wallace. And that was a legendary line. So I think it worked really well for him. Paul in Zanesville on WHIZ, thank you for your call, my friend. Frank in Evergreen, Montana, KOFI, go for it.
Thanks, Rich.
Yes, sir.
In debate, when I studied debate, its most important thing is eye contact. It could have been easy for him. He picked the rules. There would be nobody else in the room, So why wasn't he staring at the camera? Even Kennedy knew, back in the 60s when the color TV came out and Hollywood was prepping him, he had to look into the camera, and he was more convincing. But on the radio, he lost. But
I agree with you. I think Joe Biden totally missed so many opportunities. Mainly the power of incumbency. He is the president. I don't understand. I didn't receive that once throughout the debate that he's actually the president. Looking at that, I would have imagined that both of these guys were vying for an open seat and that they were both challenging because Joe Biden didn't seem like president. Folks, that's all I've got tonight. I hope you enjoyed our debate analysis and coverage. Take care. Good night. God bless. I'm Rich Valdez.